welcome to the podcast, the YouTube videos, and the blog. My name is Christine Hansen, and I'm a business consultant, and I help business owners and entrepreneurs to carve out more time in their business. So I don't think it was a coincidence that I started my business when I did. So if you don't know, my very first business was actually a baby sleep consultancy called Sleep Like a Baby here in Luxembourg. And I took the plunge to become an entrepreneur after I had my daughter. So she was a year old and I had gone back to my previous job, and it was actually great. You know, I had a great schedule. I had wonderful students. At the time, I was still teaching. And there were two factors that made me take the plunge to become an entrepreneur. First of all, it was that, reading the sales page at the time to become a sleep consultant, a certified sleep consultant, it was great copy, and it talked about all the elements, that we actually become an entrepreneur for most of the time. Be independent, be your own boss, have more time, flexibility, and obviously an unlimited ceiling for income. When you have a fixed job, there is just, there's a bar. And especially for a government employee like me, I knew exactly that by the time I was 45, I would have reached the absolute highest bar for my income. That's just the way it's structured over here. And most of the people that I work with, they also start for a very similar reason. They want more time, more flexibility. And also, of course, even if it's not the first thing they, articulate, very often it is that you can have a lot of passive income and you can make a lot more money than you ever could in a full-time, employed position in most cases. Or if you have a lot of money earnings, then you have to swap it for time in the traditional format that we know. So that is why most of us, or a lot of us, start the journey of entrepreneurship, or it's at least part of it. Now, here's what happens though as well. Becoming an entrepreneur, starting a business, is a very steep learning curve, as I'm sure you know. We all have our niche that we know our expertise in, but having to learn how to handle finances, the whole marketing aspect, the whole back office, human resources, depending if you've never had a team before, is all new territory. And even though it's exciting, or at least for me, it was very exciting to learn all of that, it's still costing a lot of energy. And here is one thing that I know that is very easy for me, but that I've really learned is not obvious for everyone. And it's outsourcing, trusting and letting go. It might be because I'm not a perfectionist, and because I know what I'm good at, and I also know what I'm not good at. Now, in the beginning, obviously, I did everything on my own because I didn't have the resources and I didn't know where to look for help that was reasonably priced. But by now, I have a fixed team who do everything that I'm not too good at. And even if I'm good at it, they might have different ideas, and it doesn't mean that I should be doing it because I only have a limited amount of energy in a day. And to me, that was fairly easy. I also have to say that I always trusted in the process, even when times were tough and I didn't have too many financial, a huge bank account, and it would be like seriously not knowing how to pay for my bills. It always worked out. And I think there was rarely a time when I didn't have any freelancer working for me or any project that I paid for, whether it was coaching, whether it was a web design or something happening. But I do know that for a lot of people, it's different. I also have to be very honest that growing up, I never had to worry about money. I had my students paid for me, my education. My parents supported me getting my first flat, all of these things. And then I had my job. So I never had to witness poverty or struggle with money, which I'm very honest about is obviously different for me from others. And that is also probably a reason why it was easier for me to splurge or to just invest. Now, what happens though is that, why am I telling you this? It's that I want everyone to be aware of that pattern in your head of having issues to let go. Because if you don't, you will sacrifice everything. You, at some point, doing all the things is not sustainable, because yes, obviously you're doing the work and it's going to pay out and you will have a successful business, which means you will have lots of clients, which means you are exchanging your time for money. And at some point, and you enjoy it. I mean, that's why you started the whole thing, right? But at some point, you cannot do it all. And the thing with us entrepreneurs is that we have new ideas of how to reach more people, writing a book, creating a podcast, doing courses. But if you have a full client roster, which is what everyone is envious of, right? You just don't have the time. You cannot do it all. And this is also something that I want to, do a little shout out. I recently talked to someone who told me that, I have these ideas, but I just don't have the time, which to me is already a red flag, because if you're creating the business of your dreams, you should always have time. And if you don't, then something is the matter. And then secondly, after that, she said, but I'm single, so I don't have family, I don't have a partner, so I can invest all my time into the business. And this is the best way to burn out. It really is. It really, really is. Because the thing about burning out, which is very common amongst entrepreneurs, is that you don't notice it at first. You are building adrenaline. It feels exciting. You keep going, but it's not healthy. You are creating a hormone called cortisol, which is a stress hormone, which is great because it's keeping you awake. It is also a healing hormone, so it can help you. It's anti-inflammatory, but it's not meant to be in your body over a prolonged period of time, because then it becomes catabolic and it starts to destroy your organs and all your systems and to deregulate all of your other hormones. So it's really important to have that balance. And just saying, I don't have family, so I can invest all my time in that, I think that is something you should talk to a coach about, to a life coach or your therapist, because what does that even mean? Does that mean we have to replace that time with your work? What about other passions? And we should all have other passions beyond our business. I love my business, don't get me wrong, but I really love other things too. I love horseback riding. It helps me to clear my mind. I love sleeping. I love going on a holiday, traveling, going to fancy restaurants. I love spending time, yes, with my daughter, but even if I didn't have family or partner, I would love to have time for other things too, because they inspire me and because I just enjoy them. And if you spend all your time with your business, what are the chances that at some point you're going to resent it, So be careful about that. And that is really something that I see a lot, women and men alike, doing it all, enjoying it, fair enough, and yet seriously running the risk of burning themselves out. And that is why I do what I do. Really. I love going and having discussions with someone. And usually what happens is I look at them, and it's much better in person. I have to be honest, so I'll be there with my cup of coffee like this, maybe not slurping as much. And we'll just have a chat, and they talk to me. And they tell me, I have to do this, and then I have to do this, and then, I didn't have time to do that, and this client here, and this client there. And I just listen, and then I'm like, so have you considered, or they ask me, how do you do it? And then I usually tell them, well, let's say with a client onboarding system, I just have a CRM, and, when I have a new client, I just click one button and everything is done automatically, or I just send an email to my assistant with their names and she does it, and that's it. It takes me like 2 seconds. Or, you do have a podcast, you wrote a book in this year, you still have clients, you show up on social media, you actually volunteer as an events director and as a board member. How do you get all of it done? Plus you have a family. A lot of people forget that I am a mother, that I do have an 8-year-old daughter too. And I have 3 cats and 2 dogs and a partner, and I love it all. And they ask me, how do you do it? And it's because I really only do what I enjoy in terms of showing up like this and sharing my message. But I'm not the one who's going to edit this video, and I'm not going to be the one who's going to write the blog version of it, because that would drain me. I'm doing a PhD on the side, like the 20-hour commitment a week, because I love it and it fires me up because I can. And I want to help everyone to be able to do that, to have the income, to have everything set up in an efficient way with technology, which is not as scary as you think, at all. And there's wonderful things out there. So I guess this is not necessarily an educational post as much as my plea to really dig deep and dive in and see where you're at in your business, where you're heading to, whether you are, I don't want to say punishing yourself by working on your business all the time using the excuse, but it's fun. Yes, it's fun, but it's also your job. You have to have a balance. And also, what is maybe scary about paying someone to come in and look under the hood, because we like to think our businesses are great, but we all have some messiness somewhere. Me too. Not everything's perfect. A lot of it is great, I have to admit, but there is obviously also things that aren't perfect. And having someone look under the hood is obviously, it's like, yeah, this is my laundry basket. Have fun. But I promise you, I'm a very non-judgmental person with a lot of love and compassion for my clients. And yeah, I know it can be scary. So because I understand that, and because I sometimes feel, and even with me not having that many issues investing usually, I still have to say that sometimes I get resentful when I invest in something and then I see what I've invested in and it's not up to par, and that has happened a lot to me over the last few years. And that is why I do, very contrary to main belief of only high ticket, I really respect your money. I really respect anyone's commitment to invest. And that is why I do have an introductory offer, which is just an audit, which is similar, to the scenario that I described with the coffee, where I'm listening and then I just immediately see. It's like, I don't want to say it's a superpower, but it kind of is. It's like I see exactly what is missing where. It's how I am designed. I'm very strategic that way. And, it's an hour up to 90 minutes, depending, and it's at a very low entry price point. It's very affordable, especially if you get it through my website. It's just €100 at the moment. That may always change. I'm just saying, I'm very rarely state my pricing because it always changes. But I do respect the commitment of investing a lot, and I do want to get to know my people, and I want you to get to know me, and I want you to be super comfortable when you do invest with me, and to be excited and just like, I know that it will be an amazing investment, but I do understand the reluctancy, and I'm done of the whole coaching thing of like, you have to, if you don't invest in yourself, you're not worth it, or you don't take yourself seriously. And it's like, there's truth to it, but it's also, I understand that money is something precious, and it doesn't come easily to everyone. So I do respect that. And that is why I have that offer. So if you go to my website, it's actually the only thing you can book under my offers and services. And it's really, really budget friendly. And I think it's the best first step if you notice yourself to be on this way of not immediate burnout, but if you're like, ooh, this kind of hit home, So I hope that this was helpful somehow. I love doing these episodes. Let me know if you love listening to them. And I think you'll be seeing less of me on social media because I'm just love to connect in person. I love to connect deeply this way here, funny enough. But please do reach out to me. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.